thank all of the other sponsors. As Nick said, you can't really put on an event like this without the support of the community and the businesses that support the chamber. So thank you to all the sponsors here today. I also want to thank our speakers. I'm super excited to hear the panel. I know we're going to have some amazing remarks from some amazing women, so thank you all for being here. And then I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out to support each other and all the award winners here today. At Bank of America, we really do focus on the importance of women, and I'm so proud that there are so many women in this room, and men, so thank you guys for joining too, to support what we're doing here today. So just a couple of quick things about Bank of America. As you know, we are one of the finalists in the Enlightened Employer category, and I want to share a little bit about why I think that we were fortunate enough to be among the great companies that were chosen. At Bank of America, more than 50% of our global workforce is women, 40% of our global management team, and 30% of our board of directors. Through our supplier diversity program, we've spent over $2.5 billion supporting women and minority-owned businesses. Through the Tory Burch Foundation, we provide capital for entrepreneurs and have deployed in excess of $25 million in capital for those programs. On our private bank side of the business, which is our wealth platform, we have addressed the specific needs of planning for women through our Women in Wealth platform. And we have made socially innovative investing strategies just focused on girls and women. So these are just a couple of the things that I'll mention, but at the end of the day, the most important thing is that we're all here today to celebrate some amazing companies and some amazing women, and I want to thank you all for sharing in it.
Proud to support today's event celebrating bold and fearless women who are making it happen. Walton Gas likes to think of themselves as a natural gas provider with real moxie. That's what it takes for them as a Georgia-based, community-oriented company to compete against some very large multi-state corporations. Walton does it every day and across all customer segments, serving homes, multifamily dwellings, retail, restaurants, hotels, and some of the largest manufacturers and industrial customers in the state. They do it with energy, know-how, and determination, driven by the core value of putting the customer first. Maybe that's why they've received the highest customer satisfaction ratings in the industry. Also, thank you to CAB Incorporated and Terry John Dahl for joining us as a principal sponsor. Supporting sponsors, Anderson, Tate, and Carr, Mansions at Gwinnett Park, and Gwinnett Sports Commission. The Sports Commission promotes athletic tourism for our county as well as oversees the PGA Tour Champions Mitsubishi Electric Classic at TPC Sugarloaf. On April 13th, the tournament will host its annual Executive Women's Day. If you'd like another opportunity to connect with professional women, visit MitsubishiElectricClassic.com for more information. So please direct your attention to the screens for a short video from the Gwinnett Sports Commission.
Success lives here. Here in Gwinnett County, it's more than just a saying, it's the truth. We're more than just a suburb. We're Atlanta's playground, playing America's pastime, out driving the competition, moving the ball forward, taking our shot, always seeking our next big win. Here in Gwinnett, we're leading the chase because we have a vibrant community, a thriving community, a family community.
Grinnell University, Duke Realty, Gwinnett Event Photography, Office Creations, On-Site Audiovisual, Sewanee Town Florist, Twin Cookies and Sweets, and Wealth Horizons. Please join us in thanking these leading organizations.
At this time, I'd like to ask our moderator and panelists to begin making their way to the stage. Many of you already know our very own Carla Caraway, our moderator for today's panel. Carla is the president of Precision Planning and was chair of the Gwinnett Chamber Board in 2014. She currently serves on the Chamber's Executive Committee. Thank you, Carla, for moderating this esteemed panel. On the panel, we have Liz Gillespie, Partner and Vice President for North American Properties, Sarah Ravani, CEO of Okabashi. Halo.
All right, give me a minute to grab my book. We'll be in business. Okay, so how many of you guys were here last year for the inaugural event? Awesome. So you guys know what a treat this was, to have a panel and all the great information and interesting information that we found out. So I know we're excited to hear that. So it's going to be a little informal. We've got questions, and we're going to start, and they're going to kind of answer on their own and move along as we see how many questions we can get through, okay? All right, great. All right, ladies. So first thing, I'm going to have you just briefly tell us about yourselves, who you are. I know your bios are in there, but you can add something interesting if you want to. And also, I'm going to ask you to add in what motto you live by. All right? And whoever y'all can just jump in, whoever wants to go first.
Okay, I'll kick it off. I'm Natalie Morehouse. I'm president of Racetrack Petroleum, which is based right here in Atlanta. For those of you unfamiliar, Racetrack is a chain of gasoline and convenience stores throughout the Southeast. We operate about 775 convenience stores under 2 different brands, Racetrack and Raceway, and we have many racetracks right here in Gwinnett. What I would say is I'm an action-oriented person, and a lot of what I'm tasked with at Racetrack is being forward-looking. So for me, the motto would have to be, vision without action is nothing but a daydream. And what I mean by that really is just that vision is really, really important. But without a team behind you and without actually being able to make that vision actionable, it doesn't matter as much. You keep without the results. And so that's something that really drives me when I think about my professional career.
Hello, my name is Sarah Ravani. I'm CEO of Okabashi Brands, and actually that motto very much resonates. I know exactly what you mean. Okabashi Brands is a U.S. footwear manufacturer. We have our factory just up in Beaufort. We've been manufacturing since 1984, and we make about 2 million recyclable shoes a year. So exciting time. And you can find our shoes in CVS, Walgreens, Target, J. Crews. They're across the U.S. and internationally. My background in terms of career was also actually in consulting and then venture capital, and probably a bit too much school as a classic geek. And I think that my motto is smile at the world and the world will smile back at you. And I think that this relates in the personal realm, but also in the professional. I mean, when you're really looking to make changes start with positive thought about what can be done. And then positive thought leads to positive action, and that then leads to positive change. And it's something my father used to say to me on the way to school, and I think it still rings true.
Hi, I love both those mottos so far, so thank you. I'm Gila Holomak, President and CEO of the Metro Atlanta Chamber these days, but my background is I was president of Churches Chicken for about 10 years. Seems like a long time ago, but that was my first CEO type gig. Then I moved to Dallas, Texas. I'm sorry, I'm embarrassed by that, but I did. I moved down there. But I moved for a good reason. I went to be the president and CEO of Susan G. Komen for the Cure of the breast cancer group. Then I came back to Atlanta and I was president of Arby's restaurant group for about 3.5 years. And after being in the business world and the nonprofit world, I kind of put the two together with coming to be the person for the Metro Atlanta Chamber. So it's been a great journey, and I'd say my motto is really around taking risk. And this is what I always tell every human being I meet: you can do more than you think you can. You just can, you know. And sometimes people just don't kind of reach and take advantage. And just to kind of go along this theme, the whole idea of just being super engaged and you know, the cliche, you know, this is not a dress rehearsal, just rings really true to me, because it's like, you know, this is the day you're given, and you know, it's not going to be back anymore, and you just got to live every day.
I love all those too, which will make me want to change mine. But I'll stick with the one I have for now. I'm Liz Gillespie, and I'm partner and vice president of marketing for North American Properties. And basically, we develop really amazing and immersive mixed-use communities. In fact, the one that will surround the Infinite Energy Center is one of ours. It's Rebel. And I really, if I were to look at my life and how I got here, I'd say I was pretty much raised by gypsies. I come from a family of innovators and nomads and explorers, and when I got to Atlanta, it was my 29th move, and now 30, because I actually moved into a condo not too long ago, and I love it. And so my whole journey, my life, and you know where I am today has all been, you know, it's like every step has led me to where I am today, and because life is just an adventure. So my motto, I have a hashtag, and it's no end to my journey. And because I love to travel and I love to explore, and I'd say that the one thing I say to people on a regular basis is remain curious, always be open, and you never know where your curiosity will lead you.
Great. Okay, so now you can see why everybody was so excited about this panel, right? Because it's an amazing group of professional women. So let's go the route of, you all have very different jobs, obviously, just from listening to what you do. What do you like most about your job? You don't have to go to order if somebody, if you
I'll
jump
just
in, right ahead.
go back in the direction.
That's all right.
What I love most about my job is the ability to transform communities, and I love my team. I love the people that I work with. I love my job. I mean, I feel so fortunate and so lucky to have landed in a place where my strengths are recognized and my strengths are valued, and I get to be creative every day, and I get to work with people that I love. It's that's pretty much it. That's what I love about it. I love my job.
So do I. I love my job as well. And the thing that I like most about this particular job is that you really do get to feel like you're a part of helping a market or an area grow. And you know, we all know if you're not growing, you're dying. This is a business or business trip, I guess. So you've got to be growing. And you know, we have been, and much like the Gwinnett Chamber does, you know, we get a chance to really, you know, help companies grow, and in that process, we get a chance to help talent grow and recruit talent to our market and make sure the talent that's here gets educated. And it's a lot of fun to deal with, you know, the large businesses and, you know, the growing tech firms and all that. But when you can know that there's an underpinning to what you do that is hopefully making sure that the whole market, the whole region, and people who are sometimes left out of the equation get the opportunity to grow as well, and that can be part of your mission. We talk about it in inclusive economic development, inclusive innovation, then you can feel pretty good about what you get up to do every day.
Hello. I think that this sort of relates back to your motto as well, that part of my role is really deciding on what the long-term vision of the company should be, and how do we go from a vision into reality, and how do we make these things happen. And you know, when the company started, 60% of shoes were being made in the US, and now it's only 1% of shoes. And so fundamentally, this is an amazing team of men and women who work and lead in their realm with courage, with creativity, with resilience, and it's such a joy to work with them and really to make a product that is sustainable, that's helping the environment, and also flip-flops are a happy thing, you know. We're making things for people. No one puts on flip-flops at the beginning of the day thinking that they're going to have a bad day. And so our mission is really to deliver American-made happiness, and it's been fun to do that and to dream big, but then really make it happen to the very much the machine and the individual level. So loving it.
It's funny, at racetrack, a lot of us like to say, if you sell taquitos and beer, it's hard to take yourselves too seriously. And I think that's one of the things I love most about my job. I have a lot of fun at work, and I'm surrounded by great people, and get to influence and serve people in communities every day. So influencing certainly is a bit more of an internal look at my role, but externally, what we do is serve people, and we serve all different walks of life in the convenience store industry, from professionals to even homeless people. And being a part of a brand who can effectively serve that many different people is really humbling. So that's what I love about my job.
That's great. So I know there's close to, I think, 350 people here today, and we have all walks of life, professional. I know we have some men in the room too, which I think is fantastic. I'm not sure who's running the companies or some of the cities that are going at it right now, because I'm seeing this out here. But I think one of the things maybe people here would like to hear about, because there are people all different levels of career, whether it's just starting or they're maybe looking at what they're going to do to the next step. But what has been the highlight of your career? And it doesn't necessarily have to be where you are now, but what has been the highlight that sticks out in your mind?
I'll go for a highlight. Well, one is professional, and then the other is more about what can happen or what you can kind of do to move things forward. I mean, probably the biggest thing that happened to me in my career was becoming president of Church's Chicken, because it was a long time ago, and before some of you guys here were born, maybe even some of the people on the panel were. As a matter of fact, Natalie and I, we share, my son is her age, so there you go. So, but because there had not been a woman who was the president or CEO of a food service company back then. It was the old days where it was only men, and then the other thing was I was a marketing person, and it was only finance and operations who were being raised up. So I think people were really more freaked out about a marketing person being the CEO than they were about a woman. But that was a fun highlight. But the thing that I'm probably most proud of, nobody would ever really end up knowing, but when we were at Komen, we led a lot of the scientific research for breast cancer. And there were lots of different women, lots of different groups of women from different backgrounds, especially in the Middle East and some other places in Africa, where the women wouldn't talk about their breast cancer because it would diminish their daughter's chances of marriage. And that was, obviously if you don't talk about breast cancer, you're not going to get treated for breast cancer. So we had a couple of breakthroughs in the Middle East. We actually met with King Abdullah and from Saudi Arabia, and he actually said the words breast cancer through a translator, and started talking about how to get the women in his country to admit they had breast cancer so they could be treated. And we actually had in the newspaper in Jordan a diagram of how to give yourself a self-breast examination, which were two big breakthroughs for that part of the country. So it's just kind of nice thing to get to do. Yeah.
Sure. So what we do is really focus on the sustainable manufacturing, on closed loop manufacturing, where we take all of our scraps and we regrind them into new shoes. And we also invite our customers to send back their old shoes to be recycled as well. And it was amazing 2 years ago when I took over my role, going to speak to retailers about the circular economy, about what sustainable manufacturing means. That's also a good positive for supply chains. In some cases I really felt that I was speaking a totally different language. I mean, not just my accent, just totally different language. And so it's been so amazing to really see not only the acceptance, but the welcoming and the appreciation of this. And I think that probably my proudest moment is really the growth that we're able to do. We're going to be growing about 60% this year.
and really bringing on a lot of new nationwide campaigns for the spring, which we're excited about. And when I think about what that also means for the opportunities that I can provide for my team members, that I can provide also impact for the local community. And I think that it's a testament to my family who said, we don't know what's going to happen with US manufacturing, but we're going to stay committed. And so I'm really proud just to be part of sustainable manufacturing flourishing in the US.
I think for me, if I think about all the projects we've rolled out or the innovation we have had as a company, those things stand out, but in terms of highlights, the things that occur to me are more emotional. And one story that stands out for me in particular, at Racetrack, we like to celebrate our wins and we like to celebrate our people. And one thing that we do every year is we celebrate our top 10% of store managers by taking them all on a big trip. And a few years ago on that trip, I was fortunate enough to be there, and I was approached by a store manager who literally had tears in their eyes and shared with me a little bit about their journey. They had come to Racetrack without a car and homeless at the time, and we had an operations supervisor who helped them get not just a job, but transportation to their job. And they started it as an associate at the entry level, and obviously had worked their way up to the store manager level, and were now making a great wage, supporting their family, and in Mexico on an award trip because they were one of our top 10% of performers. And needless to say, this person had never been out of the country, but they also had never been even on a plane. And to see the emotion from them about our company and what our company had meant to them in their life, for me, was just an unforgettable highlight.
I'd say I'm listening to your stories. I'm just like so inspired. This is really amazing. I'd have to say that when I look back at what we do at North American, it's we're a very purpose-driven company. It's not about what we build, but it's about why we build. And we really focus on the space between the buildings. It's not about the buildings, but the space between them, because that's where community happens and that's where people gather. And there's just something really magical about creating a space where people come together. Like, for example, at Avalon, we have an ice rink. And we learned the other day that since our ice rink is opened, we've had over 62 marriage proposals on our ice rink, which is really spectacular, you know? I mean, so it's like, that's creating an emotional connection. And that, you know, just almost makes me tear up just to think about that. But it's about really creating spaces where people come together and creating those emotional connections, because we really believe that heart share leads to market share, and creating that sense of loyalty. So I mean, I could tell you 100 stories that make me want to cry. But another thing too, that we leverage our common areas and support the community. For example, in 2 weeks, we transformed the boulevard at Avalon into a runway, and we have a fashion show for Bert's Big Adventure. And Bert's kids are actually in the show, and we spend the whole day with them. They go to dry bar, they get their makeup done, they get, you know, I mean, they're beautiful, and it's the most amazing night, and it raises funds for Bert's Big Adventure. So we really like to leverage our environments and support the community as well. So it's like every job I've ever had has sort of had that component, that element of being able to take the environments that we create and leverage them and support community. I love that.
That's great. That's great.
So along those lines, so thinking about where you are in your career now, so what professional advice would you have given yourself when you started? Knowing what you know now, what professional advice would you have given yourself?
I'll start that one. I am going to take a page out of Sheryl Sandberg's book, Lean In, and not just the lean in phrase, but particularly, it's a jungle gym, not a ladder. And I love a lot about that book, but I particularly have loved that chapter because my career follows that for sure. The jungle gym, not a ladder. And it relates to what you said just a few minutes ago too. Believe in yourself and be willing to take risks, because there are opportunities that I have been given in my career that felt bigger than I was ready for. And to really throw yourself in there and be curious and learn and take the risk. If others sometimes see things in you that you don't see in yourself. And recognize that lateral moves or even steps back can teach you something on your path up the ladder. That's a huge lesson that I have learned.
That definitely resonates, and I think that, you know, it's about understanding that things are non-linear, but also that at every step you need to be one of the hardest working people in the room. And that one thing that I've always tried to do is front load my work, and that's also helped to give me the courage to take risks in my career and to feel that I could be the best version of myself. Rome is definitely not built in a day, and it's really all about hard work. And nowadays, with so much social media and everyone wanting to present the best side of themselves, you know, you need to remember that people don't show off, oh well, this was the Tuesday when I woke up at 4 a.m. to make sure that I was doubly prepped to do X, Y, Z. And just realize that everyone else is working hard, and you might think that things are coming super easy to everyone else, but not necessarily. Just give it your best shot.
I think they've said it well. Yeah, seriously.
The only thing I would add to that is just trust your instincts and you know, be true to who you are. I'd say one of the biggest lessons that I've learned that I wish I had learned much younger is self-awareness, just understanding what makes you tick and understanding how you filter life and understanding how that you filter life impacts the way that you approach things. If you decide the world's out to get you and hold you back, it's going to. You'll find things to support that. If you decide the world's your oyster and you approach everything with a smile and kindness, that's the way the world will come back to you. And that is it sounds really easy because it is. It's really all about attitude. And I think it's, just get to know yourself, you know, understand what makes you tick and embrace that. And then if you can turn around and then understand what makes other people tick and embrace that as well, it's life-changing.
So thinking about what makes you tick, or playing on the jungle gym, as Natalie said. So when you're going through professional and obviously personal things that go on as you're going through your professional career, so what or whom keeps you grounded?
We actually discovered that we had the exact same
Really?
answer to this.
That's not surprising.
I've got 3 brothers, and there is nothing that can keep you grounded like 3 brothers teasing you consistently. And I think that it's just family and friends, and they'll force you to be real and keep you grounded, and they know who you are. And I think it's about making sure that you don't live life in a posture. You live your authentic life and you feel it and you accept true feedback.
Yeah, I'll build on that just a little bit because as she said, our answers are similar, but family for sure. In a family business, yes. And I work directly with my sister, but both of my parents and 3 of my siblings serve on Racetrack's board of directors. And I think as you get higher and higher in an organization, it can be hard to find truth tellers. And that is something that I really, really crave as a leader, because the best decisions are made with the best information. And if you don't have anyone who's willing to tell you that they see something differently or that they have another perspective or information that you haven't thought of, that by its nature will compromise your ability to make the best choices. So I seek that and crave that from everyone around me, but working in a family business where I'm very, very lucky is there are certain people in the business that I know will never hesitate to tell me when they disagree, and that's a wonderful and humbling thing.
There's probably some here that I look around the room, I know there's some family businesses right here, so I know you probably have the same feeling, you understand what she's talking about. So what about you, Halo or Liz?
You know, it's families too. I mean, my husband and I have 2 millennials, a son and a daughter, and you know, it's interesting because your kids will tell you anything and everything. You know, it's if I show up with the wrong outfit, I'm done with the kids. You know, I mean, seriously. So it's really interesting, and they're huge supporters, and they've I worked a ton when they were little, and I at some points felt a little bit guilty about it, and then when they're adults and we've had a honest conversation, they were like, wow, we were just excited that you could spend as much time as you did with us, and you did this fun job. And since I got to be the leader of consumer brands, it was a little easier for them to comprehend as small children and to be able to talk with their friends. And they would, I sometimes run into their friends from Westminster and Woodward and say, oh yeah, you always brought the chicken tenders or the curly fries. That was great. Yeah, so so my advice is, if you're gonna work really hard when you have small kids, try to go with a consumer brand they can understand. Exactly.
And same here, family always keeps you grounded. I try to approach everything with gratitude. I mean, every day I try to wake up and just thank the world for what's been delivered to me, and be grateful for what I have. And I also work in an environment with people, again, getting back to that self-awareness that we all, do you guys know Enneagram? Have you guys done Enneagram? Okay, well, we're all about that. We've been studying that for like 7 years. So we all know what we are, we know what each other are, we know what makes everybody tick. And so they all know what my weirdness and my quirks are. So they make fun of me, So I get that at work too. So it's easy to stay grounded, just having people around you that are willing to make fun of you and that you're willing to laugh when it happens.
Okay, so I'm going to ask one more question before. I know the majority of the room are women, so I'm going to stay on one topic, then I'm going to switch over, and we'll go ahead more to you gentlemen. I'm going to switch to the gender-specific questions. The first one before I ask that, so in your career, and y'all obviously are at different stages, and some of you have been in one place, some of you have been in many different places. So what for you was at the point you said to yourself, I've made it. I've gotten to where I want to be. If you've gotten there at all, maybe you haven't. But if you have, or you've gotten to where you think you want to be, what was the thing that happened that you said I've made it?
I'll start with that one. I had to really think about that. I would say probably there are two things. One, I'm pointing 3 fingers, but there are two. So 2 things. One was when I made partner at North American Properties, is when I was hired by Mark Toro. He brought me in when we bought Atlantic Station, and so I worked on the project for about a year. And as Sarah said, you work hard, and I did, and I loved it. And I had so many opportunities to just really bring the potential of that project back. And after about a year of that, he pulled me aside and he said, I've talked to the other partners in North American Property. We all agree that you've made such a unique and strong contribution to the success of this project that we're bringing you in as a partner. And that was just to have someone value, and not just, it was not just about, I had a voice, but I also had a say, and then I was given a seat at the table. So that was a real opportunity. And then the other ones, I was saying earlier today that because of the unique way that we approach what we do, I've been invited to speak on two different conferences, one in Hong Kong and one in Colombia, and I'm like, what? One of them I had to be translated, which was really fun. But that too, just like that, and I was like, sure, I'll come if you pay my way. And they were like, okay. And I was like, okay. So, and I did. And it was amazing. And it's again taking risks and taking chances and exploring life.
And this coming from the person that's going to Iceland tomorrow. So obviously traveling is one of her things.
My toenails were painted glacier blue. So
all right, what about you?
I'm just gonna say, I haven't made it yet, because I'm the classic baby boomer. I am gonna die in the saddle. I want to keep learning. I want to conquer something new. I do serve on 2 public company boards, which I highly, highly recommend if a woman is qualified that she try to do that, because we still haven't hit that magic 3 on every publicly traded board. I've been on a couple of publicly traded boards before, and on 2 now, and I've been on some private boards as well. But there's just still other things that I want to do and want to learn. And I've been trying to study a little bit more around VC investing, venture capital investing. So I haven't made it yet, and maybe somebody will say I made it when I'm dead. But I really want to keep doing things, you know? Yeah.
I have to agree. I definitely haven't. I've got some very strong women in my family, including my 79-year-old and 89-year-old grandmother, who are both still working. So I've got rather big shoes to fill there. But it is a thrill really when you see a shoot being made, and then you can go through Target, CVS Morgan, and you can see it there. You can see people sort of posting and talking about it. There's definitely that amazing feeling. Wow, this is real. Or quite often we get love letters back from our customers, and really in-depth, long, emotional, and it just how these shoes have impacted their life, or a story about themselves. And I think that feels really good. And I'm going to continue to work hard and see what we can do.
I'll echo a lot of what's already been said. I think it's actually important to never feel like you've arrived, at least. So to constantly be learning, constantly be striving for it, took me back to a place of, wow, I have the ability to influence beyond what I even realized I could. And that made me feel like I had made it to some extent. Right.
So as women that are at the top of your organizations, how important is it for women to advocate for each other in the business world?
Totally.
I was gonna say, she's already in.
Vital.
Yeah, she went down there.
Totally, and I think both on a structural level, seeing what sort of more ecosystem level changes can we start, can we support, can we lend our voice to, but also I think things start at home, within your own organization. What can you do to create equal opportunity for women? Whether it's more flexibility, understand in some ways, but also understanding that with these changes, these are changes which will benefit everyone and in so many different ways, and not to approach it in a way of, oh, I'm doing this for some sort of good. No, I'm doing it for every sort of good.
Advocacy.
Yeah, I'll add something to that. I was talking to some of my colleagues earlier, and I said, 10 years ago, I think if you had asked me, was I a feminist, I just would not have related to that term. And you ask me today, and immediately I feel like, yes, absolutely. And for me, that is because as I have advanced in my professional career, as I have moved back home to Atlanta, which is a very different part of the country than where I started my career, sometimes it can be hard to find women around me that I can really relate to on a professional level. And I have a daughter too, and I think that has really impacted me. And she is so young, and yet I think, gosh, I of course want the world to be a better place for both my daughter and my son, but there's something personal with my daughter that I just want her to be able to do anything. And so that starts with us supporting one another. That starts with us advocating for one another, and for building these kinds of communities where we can connect and really create a forum where we can build each other up and learn from one another and show the world that women can do it.
And there's a lot of work still that needs to be done.
Yeah, again, I said the word vital, and I don't want, it's absurd to think that, I don't buy anything that women don't help each other, because I've just never seen it, never lived it. And I'm not even trying to get this quote right, but it's something like, if you're the only woman at the table, it doesn't mean you're you're in a good seat, you're at the wrong table, because that's a table that's not good, and you need to be, rearranging that table, or whatever this cliche is that I'm totally messing up. But it's seriously, you have to think about it, and you have to be intentional, and it's not just women, it's people of color and the LGBTQ community, and people who just are left out systemically and systematically. If you're not conscious of it all the time, it's going to continue to happen.
All I would add to that, that is so important, is just look for the places where you feel like you have a voice and a seat at the table. And if you're, I think mine is this, that you're the artist of your own life, and your life is a blank canvas. It doesn't matter how fully formed it is, it can change and it can become something else the next day. And if you find that, and not everybody's going to like your work, and not everybody's going to value it, but it only takes one person to value you and value your work. And if you find that you're hanging somewhere and there's not a spotlight on you, then go find a different gallery. It's sort of the same thing about if you're the only one at the table, then you're at the wrong table. So I think it's really important.
So how about, have any of you experienced roadblocks in your career that have been gender related? And if so, how have you dealt with that? Have any of you dealt with that?
Mine's just quick. That gets back to filtering. If I find that I'm in a place where I feel like I'm being blocked, then I just change the way to view it. Because if you're looking for roadblocks, you're going to find them. And if you're not looking for roadblocks, you're going to find the detour and the workaround. So it's, that might be a really rose-colored glasses way to look at it. But if you're really looking for how the world is letting you down, then it will. And so I just try not to look at it that way.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever experienced any roadblocks based on gender, but I will say what I think Sarah said in the beginning. You have got to deliver the results, and you've got to be really, really good, and you've got to be totally focused, because you do have to do it better, or you're just not going to get that chance. I think that's still the case. So, as long as you're willing to kind of work yourself to death, then you won't have to see any roadblocks, because you're delivering.
Totally. And actually, I found in my career that there have been a number of both implicit roadblocks, or, it's so funny because I'm a woman CEO, everyone, when they say I work with a company, everyone immediately assumes I'm just design. Well, I'm glad you like what I'm wearing, but no, actually my background is not in design purely. And it's interesting to see where that sort of unconscious bias comes from. But to be frank, I'm sure we all, well, maybe not all of us, but many of us have actually had a lot of explicit roadblocks. I've interviewed venture capital firms early in my career, and head of HR would just say very frankly, well, everyone on our investment committee is a man, what makes you think that they'll start to break that? And I could just go on and on. And I think that what you do is you face these situations head on, and you use judo. You try and turn it into some sort of learning or teaching opportunity, and you don't just sort of skirt around the issue. You, in hopefully a very gracious and elegant way, have it head on, and so that person, whether it's no one, I don't think, intends to do mean things, but then they'll appreciate what they've done, and then they would do it to the next person. And I think if we all just create these moments and make them teaching moments, that's how we can also continue to make change.
Yeah, I don't know that I have ever really experienced a gender-related roadblock coming from others, but I think I intrinsically myself have potentially created some of those. And one that comes to mind is when I was considering taking the position to lead Racetrack's trucking division. I actually asked my potential future boss, do you think a woman can do this job? Trucking is such a male-dominated field. We had about 265 drivers, one woman. And that's just the industry. And I thought, gosh, well, I'm not a trucker. I don't have that background, so I'm going to be learning. And I'm a woman. Is this going to be accepted? I was fortunate enough in that moment to have his emphatic support. But what I think I also realized once taking the role was a lot of my femininity made me more successful in that job. So it brought self-doubt from the beginning, but even the emotion that I brought to the job was welcomed by all of the burly men that were on my team. And I was able to build connections with them and bring out a side of their leadership that other leaders hadn't been able to bring out. I think because I'm a female. So not necessarily from others, but certainly even for myself, I have had moments where I thought, can a woman do this? And what I have learned is yes.
What's interesting also what you say about the emotional side is really what I've learned in my role and my experience to date is the importance of EQ. I mean, you can go to so many different business schools and so on. No one really talks about, as you say, knowing yourself and knowing your team. Using EQ is how you get things done, is how you impact change. And I do think that as women, maybe we have some good EQ.
That's right. So speaking of learning, learning from other people and learning in different kinds of job, who is a leader that each of you look up to, and why do you look up to that leader? And it could be male or female.
I mentioned earlier, I really look up to my boss, and I'm not, he's not here, so not around this.
It's being recorded.
But Mark, Mark, Toro, because he was the first person who helped me really see. He embraced my creativity first of all. He didn't know what to do with me when he first brought me around, but he knew that there was something there. He was like, she starts every sentence with what if, and she ends every sentence with, it'll be so much fun. And I do. That's the way it all happens. But the first time he said, what do you think about blah, blah, blah? And I said, I think we should do this. He said, go. He didn't say how much, when, let's discuss it, write up a plan. He just said, go. And I said, what? He said, go. And I went, and I've never looked back. And it's like just having somebody that you work with that trusts you and lets you be you and lets you do what you do and do well. He also recognizes my weaknesses, and he's made sure that I partner myself with people who, I don't know about you guys, but it's like when I say, let's brainstorm to some of the people on my team, it freaks them out. They're like, no, I don't want to brainstorm. Just tell me what to do. And I didn't realize that there were some people who just really want to do. And it's like, I need those people. So he helped me understand that not everybody has to be like me, that it's really better to have people that complement your skills. And so anyway, I really appreciate, and he's like that with everybody on our team. He recognizes our strengths, he recognizes our weaknesses, he partners us with the right people, and encourages us to continue to grow, and he challenges us, and he lets us go.
That's great. I'll mention Larry Gellerstad. I think you guys probably know his family in town, and the reason I mentioned Larry is because of his just innate sense around the whole civic rent thing, giving back and, paying for the opportunities that you've had. And I've just never seen anybody that it's quite so just fundamental to who they are and so ingrained, and someone who is so totally true to who he is. And it's just, it's wonderful to be able to call him a friend. You meet a lot of people in business, a lot of wonderful people who do a lot of wonderful things, but he's just really a good guy.
I've been very lucky to have a number of mentors, and I think that just generally more broadly mentorship is such an invaluable opportunity to learn from other people's experience. And I've been so shocked, I've had manufacturing related questions and I've gone to my mentors, and the amount of time that they have spent not just on the theoretical but on the very, very much the practical. I think that it's sort of just having a series of mentors with a wide range of experiences who believe in what you're doing, and I think that those are the role models, and I hope that one way I can gain enough experience to be able to share something with someone.
I'm gonna have to say my dad. And of course, part of it is the amazing business he built, but it is a lot more than that, really, when I think about him as a leader. He is a truth teller, sometimes almost to a fault, but he expects that from everyone around him, and recognizes that that makes him better, and it makes racetrack better, and it is, for me, really remarkable that everything he's always thinking about is 2, 3, 5 years ahead. And I can sometimes get caught up in the day-to-day, and I'll have a conversation with him, and it's always a friendly reminder: pick your head up, think ahead. There are risks to manage. The business can't be the same 5 years from now. We've got to be thinking about that. And so for me, he's a leader that keeps me on my toes, and I certainly admire.
And I know all of you are probably in your heads thinking about that person. I think we all have that person in our lives that is somebody we look up to, whether it's a friend or a family member, depending on what kind of business you're in. So we have a couple more minutes, so I know it goes by really quick, and we have lots more questions we could have asked. But I'm going to ask one final question, sort of as the to end this portion, and that is, if you could share one success tip with this group of professional women and men, what would be that tip that you would give to the business people here today on how to be successful?
I'll start. It's already really been mentioned, especially by our friend from North American Properties. But it's the whole idea of be yourself. Be yourself. Anybody else is already taken. I mean, you can't do it if you're pretending to be someone else, or it just won't work. And it just these things are cliches for a reason. I mean, they're just so true. So just my big thing is be honest to yourself about who you are, and be yourself, because you can't be anybody else, and who you are is enough, and who you are is probably, again, more than you think it is.
That's great. I love that one. I love that one too. That's good. And I will like everybody's, because that's what 9s do. But I would say also, coupled with that is remain curious, and always, be an explorer. If you're not learning, I mean, I just can't even imagine that, but remain curious. If you think you know everything, then that's a problem. There's always something to learn, so remain curious.
I would probably say, I can slip in 3 in 1. Be courageous, be positive, and work really hard.
These are all so good. I don't
They are all good.
One. In an effort to be different and add a 4th one, I would say be passionate. Have fun at work, love what you do, don't do it if you don't love it, and not just passionate about your job, but show your care for the people around you. It is contagious, it is appreciated, it brings out the best in you, and it brings out the best in others, and don't be afraid to bring that whole self to work.
That's awesome, too. So Natalie, Sarah, and Liz, I hope all of you enjoyed that as much as I did, sitting up here and listening to them. I think that's great. I'm sure we could all sit here another 45 minutes, but I think Alicia and Nick would probably be coming unglued if we did that. So I will ask you all to give them a round of applause and thank them for their time. I will ask you to sit tight for just a second. We have, the Chamber has a short public service announcement. So if you will direct your attention to the screen.